Welcome to the Life Success and Legacy Podcast. We're glad you're here, and we hope you enjoy the episode.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the next episode of the Life Success Legacy Podcast. I'm Chris Bay, joined by the three Mikes of Life Success and Legacy. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, hello.
Yo.
Hey, we're recording two of these back to back. You guys look the same as the last one we just did.
We shower after.
We want to touch on a question that comes up often, and it comes from a place of oftentimes fear and the what ifs, and it's a real life good question to ask. And that is, what if, as we say, life happens and all of a sudden we get into a negative cash flow situation? Okay. And life does happen. We see it over and over and over again. We've experienced it over and over and over again in our own lives. Yeah. And so if we've committed to X amount of premium deposits in our system, and all of a sudden we have a negative cash flow situation, oh my gosh, what do we do? Right? So what we want to do is we want to highlight a variety of things, but I would say probably two, at least in my mind, comes to mind. One is the flexibility of the design of the policies and how we design these for clients. And that goes into how we don't overextend our clients. We go very conservative. And secondly, I would highlight, it is why we hang our hat on our ongoing coaching. We are there with people when life happens, and we help coach out of it, because those things are going to happen and you are not alone. You don't have to figure it out on yourself. We've been down this road. We know how to help people. And in 99.9% of the cases, we're able to help them figure it out.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's first talk about the design of the policy, right? And what are those different flexibility pieces that we build in? Who wants to start on that?
Well, we've talked about policy design on an older podcast. So, please refer to that for like the full in-depth, details. But what I will say about the flexibility is that in the name of the paid up additions rider that we add to our policies to inject them with cash on the front end is the term flexible. It's literally part of the design name. And so, the paid up additions rider is what boosts the cash in those early years, but it is flexible. It doesn't have to be paid in full at the beginning of the policy year, which is a huge benefit. If you have a $10,000 premium, just to use a round number, and $4,000 of that is the base, which has to be paid to keep the policy active, right? And then the $6,000 that goes into the paid up additions, if you didn't have it to start that year off, pay the base. You can pay the flexible paid up additions rider throughout the year in full, partially, not at all, and you can still continue to move forward with it with the companies that we work with.
And
so
even
that's all I expect.
And even the base, you can change the mode, right? If you
there you go.
Full mode, and that 4,000, even that 4,000 might be a bit, heavy at that point. You can switch to monthly or quarterly, semi-annual, whatever works for you to get through that patch. Yep.
I've done that. I've actually, with one of our policies, with our four original ones, at one point, I think I switched them to monthly for a reason. And just because I didn't have that big chunk available to put in right at that point. And so for a period, we switched it to monthly, and then you can switch it back to annual. We have clients who started with monthly just because that's where they were with their cash flow. They didn't have a chunk of money, but they could do monthly premiums. And then they got to a place where, like, would it be a benefit for me to switch to annual? And they could go up and pay up annual and get even more earlier for them.
And the flexibility actually allows you to do that really at any time during the premium year.
Yeah.
You don't just have to leave it at one particular mode. Same with me, Chris, on my two policies that I have with the same company you've got. I went to monthly because it made more sense.
Yeah.
And still to this day, I still do monthly because it makes more sense because of the way the company has decided to allocate the available equity against the policy. It's really simple.
So a couple things in that policy design. One, we collectively are pretty conservative.
Very.
When it comes to our clients' policies. We may get a little riskier with our own policies, but with our client policies, we're pretty darn conservative. We do not want to overextend. So that's number one.
Right.
Number two, what Mike Crawford was talking about is that flexible paid up addition rider. Let's just take your traditional design that we do, 40% in the base, 60% in the PUA. That means that 60% of that premium is flexible. 60% of what you're, and we already designed it conservatively.
Yeah.
And that base premium could go to monthly if we just needed to buy some time, right? So there's a ton of flexibility in the design of the policy. And then there's all the coaching that happens, right?
Yeah.
One last point, just on that flexibility. Yeah. The way we build the policies, again, I joke, we build them ram tough, right? And part of that is the automatic premium loan, right? Where let's say you started that $10,000 policy, you've got the $6,000 in there, and then something happens, 10 months later, that year 2 premium is looking pretty daunting. Even the $4,000 maybe you don't have. None of it possibly. If you didn't do anything, but you just opened that policy the first year, well, that $6,000 is going to be real handy, because what happens is the policy is built to cover you down. Okay. In that worst case scenario, you've got $6,000 there. It will take a loan on your behalf to save your policy for that year and keep you rolling, keeping it in force.
That's such a great point. I'm actually using that right now on one of my policies. I'm letting the grace period go ahead and lapse.
Sure.
And I'm letting the cash values cover the base. And then when we do our quarterly profit sharing, I'm going to run that money through through the PUA and all that stuff. Yeah. So that's a great point, Mike Kwong. I'm really glad you brought that up. So can you guys think of examples of life happening with any of our clients over the years, examples where you've had to kind of coach them out of a bag, right? Go ahead and share.
I have one immediatay. A young family, career change, circumstance changes, pay modes honestly can affect people, especially if they're monthly, their policy premiums are monthly and their company changes how they get paid. We're used to getting paid every 2 weeks in the traditional W-2 world, right? And if your company says, nope, we're going to start paying you monthly now, that can shift how people's mindset works in terms of how their cash flow on a daily basis. So it can feel like the sky is falling, and then they still have this, premium due on a monthly basis as well, which feels now even heavier because they aren't like staggering that dollar throughout the month, and it takes some time. And I've worked with several clients in, over the years where we're coaching them through just general life. Again, company changes, they changed careers, maybe somebody got laid off, maybe they had a, catastrophic event happen. We had clients who, were affected by floods or tornadoes, whatever it is. And so, again, that goes back to our coaching, I think, to some extent, but also it just lies inside the bucket of there's so much flexibility within Infinite Banking and how we design the policies and what we're able to help you see through. And in fact, I'll give a little shout out to Shelly Forbes, because I have had clients that come to me and I can understand the numbers. I'm a good numbers guy, but sometimes she is so in tune with how the companies that we use work. And the different tools that she can implement to help you get to that next level. In fact, there's a client that this conversation has already reminded me I need to reach back out to and touch base and have them talk to Shelly to make sure that they're on track for their January premiums, because she has a plan and will help them implement it after the first of the year. It's just, it's pretty great.
Yeah. Mike, I've got one, but I don't want to.
Okay, so I've got a couple of thoughts that go right along with this. During the webinar, one of the things that I always say is, if we can't put you in a better place tomorrow than you are today, you shouldn't do IBC.
That's right.
Okay, that's number one. Number two is, we have a large group of clients that get completely amped up about IBC, and they want to put in just this massive amount of premium, and we have to just drag them off the ledge and say, whoa, 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 whoa. Why don't we start with something much, much smaller so you can get a feel of what IBC is really all about for you and your family. Remember, your money, your plan. And so we don't want to put somebody in a cumbersome situation where we know a year down the road, guess what's coming? Base and PUA. It's coming. And so if we're not doing our job as a team to get them to where they're going to be in year 2, 3, 4, and so on, then we have not done our job. So this is why we take time to really educate our clients to where they need to be. Now, back to what the point at hand is, we've had a number of clients get to a situation where maybe they bought a new business, or maybe they had a car go bad, or maybe they had a kid go to college and now they have $0, at least flexibility in those dollars. So when we build these plans, the flexibility that we build into these plans is exactly what we talked about. So we have to be right by their side and coach them through the emotional roller coaster ride that they're going through when all of those dollars seem to be going out the door so quickly. So this is a shout out for all of our team, and the reason why we take our coaching so seriously, because we do have a number of clients that they only come to us when the stuff has hit the fan. And this is why we need to take time once for sure, but sometimes twice a year, to touch base with whoever your coach is. Touch base and say, hey, here's where things are. I just need confirmation, or I need the warm fuzzy to make sure that my IBC plan is doing exactly what we designed this thing to do. So our coaching is key to this whole thing. And oh, by the way, it costs you absolutely nothing. It's a text, it's a phone call, it's an email. We want to make sure that this is doing exactly what you want it to do. Remember, your money, your plan.
So, little commercial here, I'm going to put in a little plug. If you're one of our clients and you have not been doing at least your annual coaching sessions with us around your review time, when your anniversary comes around, if you have one policy, please do not delete that email from Shelley Forbes. Okay. Schedule your annual review with us. It'll give you a chance to just reset, to remind you of why you're doing this. We can help you if you're running into challenges or whatever. We can help you get even more out of your system that you're building. So please take advantage of that free coaching that we provide.
I've got to throw a funny story in here real quick. I have this one client in Texas, and every year...
You're going to tell the story because you know he won't listen to our podcast, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I'm not going to use his name or anything, but he called, and it's so funny. He was all amped up because he wanted to make sure that he was doing the right thing. And so the first thing I do is I go into our client portal and I go, well, he hadn't done his end of the year coaching session. So I immediately shoot Shelley a message. Oh my gosh. You would have thought that this was a 5-alarm fire. You know how Shelley is about end of year coaching.
Yeah.
I mean, this is super, super high on her priority. So I text this guy back and I said, don't make me drive down to Texas and drag you out in the front lawn to get you scheduled for your end of year coaching session. He goes, got it.
Well, we talk about, when life happens, and many times we can go to a traumatic crisis, something negative, but sometimes it's a celebration.
That's right.
And the example that comes to mind, Shelly and I are working together, coaching a young couple who just had twins. And if I can kind of paint the picture, um, so mom is a therapist. She has a therapy business. And when she got pregnant, she wanted to take some time completely away, leading up to the pregnancy, but then also after the pregnancy. Okay. The husband, the dad, just is graduating as of like within a week is graduating with his counseling with his undergraduate, and he's now starting in January to do his master's in counseling, starting a 3-year program. So he's not producing income, and mom wants to take a couple months off, right? How do we do this, right? So Shelly and I worked together with this couple, and we developed a plan, and they have been so good, so diligent. They've actually turned out even better than what we anticipated. They've got extra money at the end of the time, so she could even take more time if she wanted to. But we helped put together a plan that could get them through that time period where they have no income coming to them. So I just want to say it's not always the hard parts of life that happen. Sometimes it's a celebration, or somebody wants to say, hey, I'm changing jobs. And here's another example, just came to mind. A couple who are both teachers, and he is stepping away to follow one of his dreams. He got an opportunity to be a coach with a Major League Baseball team.
Yeah.
Okay. He's stepping away from a career in education to follow his dream. And their boys are at an age where they're now in college or headed to college and in college. And they wanted to take a summer to just go as a family and create some memories. So we work with that family to think through those options and how can they do that, to take time away from work, no income, right? And be able to celebrate this transition and following this dream. And what a great example that this dad is setting for his sons in following your passions and your dreams. So there's exciting things that we get to do and help people create in their lives as well with our coaching. So any of that bring up any final comments before we wrap this up?
Don't be a stranger. That's the theme.
That's it.
What we build is an amazing product, but life happens, like Chris said, absolutely, to all of us as well. And, don't be afraid to lean into our experience collectively over the years, and not just as, clients, but, as coaches and people that live life with these policies. That's what it's about, right? These policies are meant to enhance, everything that you're doing, especially with your money. And there's a lot of untold potential sometimes that if you're not always thinking about it, sometimes we forget, right? So even if it's just remembering, the education that we're constantly, trying to learn, it's worth it. I'm telling you. I joke, I always say in our call, like, our coaching costs are free, but they're actually priceless. There's a difference.
Ooh, baby.
And I'll add on to that to, wrap up my thoughts is like, we aren't people, I think, sometimes get afraid to reach out to us as if they're bothering us. I get that comment pretty often, and I don't coach nearly as many people as half of our team does. But they're like, oh, I just don't want to bother you. Well, if you don't bother me, I don't know, right?
That's it.
Like, we can't fix what we don't know. And again, these are your policies. We're not getting we don't have access to your data outside of what we can see on the client portal. How you use them and what you're functioning with them, your deal. It's yours. You own it. You do it. But we can't tell you what to do or help you with a solution unless you contact us and say, hey, here's what's happening. And there are 6 of us on this team, who are able, willing, and ready to do just that for you, for starters. And then second of all, is, it's relatively new, but I would honestly encourage anybody and everybody that's a client of ours to join our Discord channel.
Yes.
It's in its infancy and there's still a lot of work to get done. But ultimately speaking, if you just want to stay engaged, but not have to email us or have to pick up a phone or, join another webinar, which, you're always welcome to redo. Those don't cost either. join the Discord, because it's an opportunity just to get some fresh information from a group of people who are all on the same journey as you. We're all in the same, like direction. We just have different goals. Okay. So, reach out if you want to learn more about that. I'm happy to help.
It's a quick way to get a quick answer to a question too. Sometimes my calendar is full up for a couple weeks, and people, they just have a simple question that they want to ask, right?
Yeah.
They can email, they can call, they can do all these things, but the Discord is another option. And you're not just getting one voice, you're getting a community that is saying, oh yeah, we're dealing with that too. Here's how we handled it, And I will add one last piece is, I will sometimes connect clients with clients, because there may be a client who has a particular life circumstance that they're dealing with, that we've maybe worked with another client. And when you've been through that yourself and you can connect with somebody else, that can also be, as Mike Kwong says, priceless.
Mm.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. I want to shout out to the rest of our team, Shelly, Forbes, and Haley, and Paige. Paige is learning. We're just bringing her on now. But especially to Shelly, she's been doing this the longest of those three.
Yep.
And she is really the center cog of our coaching and what we do. And she is exceptional. She does not like to be called a coach, but she is.
Yeah.
But she very quickly, if it's something that she feels like somebody else on the team could add value, she very quickly reaches out to us and connects us with those clients. But she truly is, she is that center cog that is making that coaching piece work. So shout out to her, and then Haley and Paige as well. Thank you for because it is a collective effort.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Hope this was beneficial information. And we will catch you on our next episode of the Life Success Legacy Podcast. Take care.